Everybody ready? We buckled up and ready to go for
I think
this.
so.
All right,
Get us there.
let's go.
How long do we have to do this for?
Oh, we need to build up a very strong connection.
Okay.
I'm thinking of a number.
Oh, I don't know. 9.
No,
5.
no, you have to think.
I'm trying to.
It's 2, darling.
2.
It's 2. Like us, a pair.
Like us a pair. Like
Now,
you and me, Matt, too.
that's absolutely, and we have to try it live on air. I'm just dropping this on Chris now. We have not set aside time ahead of time to think of numbers and tell it to each other. Okay, I'm going to think of a number. You you see if you can get it, and we got to kind of be back to back here,
Okay, here we go.
right? Okay, so I'm thinking of a number.
Oh, turn the other way, Matt.
Turn the other way.
Oh
We're
yeah,
gonna face
you
each
got
other.
no. Turn back around and then lean a little bit.
Oh sure,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, we're kind of.
I
I gotta really.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Here, hold on. Let me get. Okay. Let me get into place, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, this is gonna work though. This first try, we're gonna nail it. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm thinking of a number. I think we need to narrow it down. In the movie, I think they go up to like 20. So I'm gonna say between 1 and 20. I'm thinking of a number.
Okay. All right. Is
I'm
it
ready.
12?
It is not 12.
Ah! Damn it. We need to work on our relationship here.
You're right. Yeah, and it wasn't 2 either. It wasn't
Shit.
a movie that was stated up or a number that was stated all. Number 7. Lucky number 7.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about 79? Because the
70.
Rotten Tomatoes score for the critics
Oh,
is
almost nailed it.
79% on the
We were in
Tomatometer.
sync there with a little bit.
Fair,
Look
a
at
little
that
close.
segue.
A little close.
Yeah.
And look at the audience score. There is quite the difference
Yeah.
between the critics' scores and the audience score here. 58%
Yes.
for the audience score.
I think some of the audience thought kind of the same way that you and I did.
Mhm.
And we'll get into it a little bit here, but that I think speaks a little bit to, again, the entertainment value of this film. So we'll get into some of the technical stuff of why the critics might have enjoyed it a little bit more than the audience. But what do
Yeah.
you think? From an entertainment standpoint, are you leaning more towards the 58 or the 79?
Yeah, honestly, I'm probably more towards the audience score when it comes to this.
Yeah.
I'm probably not as low, but at the same time, especially for us. We just watched Oppenheimer, and
Yeah, it's a hard act to
nothing,
follow.
nothing is gonna beat that one as
Yeah.
the next movie to watch. So. I was coming into it on a high, and this is, it's a smaller movie.
Yeah.
It's a more personal story about a certain person that, I didn't know a whole lot about Leonard Bernstein going into this, and I really am not much of a fan of West Side Story. I mean, it's great, but it's not my life.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not my
Yeah.
cup of tea. So, just in that aspect, yeah, I kind of lean towards that. But I do see why critics would rate this a lot higher than audience scores, just with the performances and
Right.
how it looks. And it's an award-winning looking movie.
It
That's
definitely is. Nominated for 7 awards
yeah.
as far as the Academy is concerned. And I thought we'd try something similar to Oppenheimer here and just go through them if it
Let's
works
do
for
it.
you, buddy. All
Works
right.
for me.
So number 1, makeup and hairstyling. Again, for those that didn't tune in last week, other contenders are Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow.
Yeah.
So we've seen a couple movies on that list. And
Yeah.
what did you think? How did it compare?
So for me, I know that they did a lot of work on Bradley Cooper in this to make him look like Leonard Bernstein and everything.
Yeah.
And we can talk about this in this section too, you know. And for best makeup and everything, it's Kaizu Hiro who did all the prosthetics and everything, and they lengthened his nose and whatnot. And for me, I mean, all hats off to them for making the prosthetics and everything.
Yeah.
But especially in the black and white parts of the film, it really was off to me. And I don't know if that's just because I know Bradley Cooper so well and his
Yeah.
work and what his face looks like, but it didn't seem quite right. It was still kind of in the not uncanny valley, but something similar to
Right.
that, where I was like, there's just something off about this. And it was a little distracting for me when it
Interesting.
came to that. So what did you think about
Well,
those makeup effects?
so the movie starts out with him playing the piano. He's 70-ish years
Mm-hmm.
old. And so you get the colorized version of the nose, you know.
Yeah.
Not only that, but the great, sort of wrinkle effects, the stuff they do
Yep.
with his neck, the hair.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, for the close-up shots, to me, it really sold. This looks like
Yeah.
an old man, right? And not
Yeah.
only that, I've seen pictures of Leonard Bernstein. I've seen videos and stuff, and I got to say, from that image of him at the very beginning of the movie to the concert that they play footage of at the very end of the movie, it was hard for me to tell. Was
Mm-hmm.
that Bradley Cooper at the end of the
Hmm.
movie, or was it actual footage? And I thought, no, it's got to be actual footage. But as and different parts of the movie I was, sort of drawn out for a second, just with different angles of his
Mm-hmm.
face, and it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily during the black and white, but I had to go back again and look at the archival footage and go like, how accurate did they get this? And I have to say that both him and okay, yeah, perfect. There you go. It's not really that far off. I read
No.
something that Bradley Cooper asked them, the makeup department, to do this prosthetic nose as sort of a middle ground
Mid of
between
ground. Yeah.
right his own and Leonard Bernstein's, who is actually his nose is actually wider
Mm-hmm.
than even the prosthetic, and so they asked his family what they thought about it, and his surviving children thought that it was absolutely fine, that it looked like
Mm-hmm.
their dad, but there were people that took issue with it,
Oh
calling
yeah.
it Jew face,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, and that. And I'm sure you read this too, Chris. They mentioned that Bradley Cooper went on stage and portrayed Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man, with
Mm-hmm.
no prosthetic. But whenever he's portraying this Jewish conductor, he has to put on
Yeah.
a fake nose. Why
Yep.
is that? So I think there's credence to both sides of that argument, but ultimately, I think the permission as to whether he should do this lays in the hands of the family. And if they give their okay,
Yeah.
it was distracting at times, but overall, I was impressed
Mm-hmm.
at how the actors looked so closely to their real life counterparts. Same goes for Carrie as Felicia there. But
Yeah.
what do you think about it? You think it'll take the award compared to, Poor Things or Oppenheimer, the ones that we've seen?
That is a great question. I still think that Poor Things probably has it when it comes to makeup for this
Yeah.
one. So yeah, I mean they did a great job in this one too. So and I feel like it is on par. I think that this movie Maestro probably did it a little bit better than Oppenheimer. So if I was
Yeah.
to rate all three of them, I'd say Poor Things is definitely at the top. Maestro is a close number second, and
Right.
Oppenheimer's third on that list.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Since we just saw Oppenheimer, I was comparing
Hmm.
in my mind how Killian looks in the older Oppenheimer makeup
Yeah.
versus Bradley Cooper. And I just think they really, really made those close-ups work with Bradley Cooper. And and even his mannerisms, he's moving
Oh,
around like an old man. So,
Hmm.
you know,
And we'll get to that with the best actor.
yeah, but it wouldn't have sold if visually he didn't
Hmm.
look the part. So,
No.
yeah, hats off to makeup and hairstyling here. I think they
Yep.
did an Oscar-worthy job. So,
Yeah.
number two, sound design. We went over these
Yeah.
uh, last week, but also nominated is Oppenheimer, along with Mission Impossible, Zone of
Hmm.
Interest, and The Creator. So, for my money, and we haven't watched Zone of Interest yet, but I think that The Creator, if I was going to give an award to any of those films for sound, I'd
Hmm.
probably stick with The Creator because there's just such a broad range of sound in that movie. I think they
Right.
nailed it, making it sound natural, even though it's a sci-fi film.
Hmm.
Um, so, and in this one, I think that they did some great work with the different transitions from talking parts to orchestral parts and that sort of thing. But I don't know. Even Oppenheimer, I think, does a better job at sound design
I Yeah, I'd have to
than
agree.
Maestro. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. There's nothing that really stands out to me
Hmm.
as something markedly different from the sound with this
Right.
movie compared to any of the other films that we're watching right now. And I think when it comes to these high caliber shows that we're watching with Best Picture nominations, you have to have something that stands apart from the rest. And we just don't have that. Doesn't mean that there's not incredible sound in this movie. It just
Yeah.
means that this is not the one that's going to take the award home
Right.
for Best Sound.
It to me seemed almost kind of like a missed opportunity. Instead of going with best sound design, give it
Hmm.
to Leonard Bernstein himself for best soundtrack. The
Yeah,
music
right?
in this movie is virtually all his.
Hmm.
And kudos to Bradley Cooper and the editing team and everybody else that makes the decisions of where to use those songs. But I thought that was far more on
Hmm.
point than maybe sound design was. Nothing wrong with the sound of the film, but like you said, just nothing that stood out.
Yeah.
So, number three, cinematography. And this, the contenders with it, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and El Conde. So
Whew.
now we've seen four films
Yeah.
contending for cinematography. What do you think, buddy?
That's a hard competition right there. That's a crowded
Yeah.
field, and again, to say that like the cinematography on this movie is bad is a lie.
No,
Like
no
it's
way.
very good.
Yeah.
It's very good. But are they going to bring home the award compared to those other films? I don't think so. Like, I
Yeah.
think that Oppenheimer probably is still at the top of that pack for me. Killers of the Flower Moon is very close to that when it
Yeah.
comes to cinematography. But this movie, yeah, no, I don't see it winning in this one either.
Right. I honestly see Poor Things winning for cinematography just
Oh,
because of the different use of, pinhole camera, wide angle, fishbowl, all that kind of
yeah, it's very
stuff.
unique and it does stand out. Yes.
Yeah. And so, right. So, like, the first thing you think of is, wow, that was a lot of different camera
Hmm.
cameras used versus some of these others. So I think that first shot that they did, him receiving the phone call that he's going to be the conductor, and they kind
And
of
those
pull out.
transitions, yeah.
Yes, using the aspect ratio of the old movies and all that stuff. All
Hmm.
those are, just great hash marks for excellent cinematography. But on this list, I don't think it's the best yet.
Yeah, agreed. And again, like there are some amazing shots in this movie, but
Yeah,
compared to these other films that are bringing their A games as well, this is the cream of the crop. So, yeah, don't think it
yeah.
takes it home.
Well, and last week when you brought up the oh geez, what's the movie? Why am I forgetting one of the most highly rated movies of all time? Orson
Oh,
Welles,
Citizen Kane.
Citizen
Yeah,
Kane. Freaking
yeah.
memory is lost there.
Welcome to
Alzheimer's,
Fatherly
early
Fandom, guys.
Alzheimer's.
We're
Yeah,
old dads.
showing our age.
Yep.
But speaking of Orson Wellesian type of cinematography, that
Yeah.
shot in the theater, pulling out
Mm-hmm.
of his room was right up
Right out
Orson's
there.
alley.
Yep.
So, yeah, so great cinematography. Number 4, best original screenplay, not adapted like last week with
Mm-hmm.
Oppenheimer. The other
Yeah.
contenders here are The Holdovers, which we haven't seen yet.
Haven't seen yet. Yeah.
Yep. May, December, which I've heard great things about. And on the snubs list, it was high on that list for why in the world was it not nominated for other things.
Mm-hmm.
Past Lives, we'll be getting to that one, Anatomy of a Fall, and Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer for Maestro.
Maestro.
So, yeah, what did you think? How do you write a movie like this where the dialogue between two people sounds like you're literally just sitting in the booth in front of them in a restaurant and hearing them talk to each other behind you? I mean, it sounds that
Yeah.
real,
It
you know?
does.
It sounds
Yeah.
like two
And
people on a date.
yeah. It
So,
really does, and you got to give them credit and props for that.
yeah.
It did sound organic. It sounded real, but at the same time too, I loved their. I just love the dialogue between them, especially in the beginning of the movie,
Mhm.
and how it invoked like these old time movies that I very much cherish and everything. You know,
Yeah.
Frank Capra movies and everything. Like just the dialogue between characters in those movies. Like we get on full display in the beginning of this movie, and I love
Right.
that.
Yeah,
So I
like
think they did a great job.
people really referred to each other as darling that
Miss
much, you know.
Darling, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, everything about that just seemed like, oh man, I
hmm
wish the entire film honestly was
yeah,
that, you know.
yeah. Same, same.
I don't know why it had to go into color. Like it could have been so cool as like you said, that Capra-esque type of movie. And it goes to
Yep.
darker places than
Yeah.
Capra usually takes his audience. But I thought it was just charming as hell.
hmm That's a
Seeing
good
the
word
two
for
of
it.
them learn about each other so quickly and so quickly
Yeah.
dive into this relationship. Um, that the dialogue rang true. You know, and he's kind of done a trilogy of relationship movies, right? With Silver Linings Playbook, A Star Is Born,
True.
and now Maestro. And so
hmm
I think you could watch all three of those movies and get this same kind of feeling from it. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. All movies with high accolades too. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I know that him and Josh Singer paired up for A Star Is Born. Not
hmm
they didn't do Silver Linings Playbook, but I I think that he's found a partner that really complements him in the writing, and I think
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, compared to the other movies on this list, will
hmm
he get it? It's hard to tell without seeing um, some of the others. You know, we really don't have a comparison yet, but
No.
by the end of this Oscar Odyssey, we will be there. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
We
But
will. And he's not nominated for best director, but originally, Matt, that he was not supposed to direct this film too. It was supposed to be Martin Scorsese to
oh
begin with.
yes.
So I think that that's our through line with these Academy
Yeah.
Awards reviews. Is
Yep.
yeah, Martin Scorsese was supposed to direct this biopic, and so he could have possibly had two contenders for best picture.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy. But after he dropped out, Steven Spielberg was going to come on board,
That was
and
my through line
yeah.
because of Christopher Nolan giving Spielberg an earlier screening of
Boom, yeah,
Oppenheimer,
yep, yep.
and Bradley Cooper the same. But I mean,
There we go.
Spielberg was one of the
hmm
executive producers, I think, on this one.
Yeah,
So
both of them, Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg, are both producers on this film as
yeah,
well. And so yeah, they brought Bradley Cooper on to be the role of Leonard Bernstein, and then he was like, well, after Steven Spielberg dropped out, he's like, well, let me maybe take my hand at directing this movie too.
right.
So, and that's how we got him. So
No, he's a guy that continues to show his range, and I know that he
yeah,
does a lot of projects centered around some personal experiences of his.
hmm
And so this was another one that I think he brought his own story into his depiction of Leonard as well, and I think that's
right.
one of the main reasons that he has been nominated for Best
Best
Actor.
actor. Yeah.
Yep. And he is going against Coleman Domingo for the film Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer,
Mm-hmm.
and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction.
Yeah.
So, tough list again. But I don't know. I think that you see less Bradley Cooper on display here than any of the other actors and their characters on that list. I don't know.
Hmm.
He could have Killian. Killian
Yeah.
really brings it with
He
Oppenheimer.
does. Yeah.
So I don't know. I could see him, but we haven't seen the holdovers yet.
Mm.
I could see him winning out versus Jeffrey Wright. Not that I don't enjoy Jeffrey Wright's depiction in American Fiction, but I think that as far as a departure for the actor,
Yeah.
um, this is different than what Bradley Cooper has played in the past. He keeps challenging himself like that.
He does.
And I think he really brings it home. You see Leonard Bernstein. It reminded me of Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln. You just don't see Daniel Day-Lewis anymore. You see Abraham Lincoln up there,
Yeah.
and I love whenever an actor disappears like that. But so, what do you think? Does he have it over Killian? You think?
So hard, but yeah, he definitely has been flexing and showing off his chops in his acting career here, and he's growing definitely. I don't think that Bradley Cooper is at his peak yet. I think
No.
that he's still got a lot
Every new
more to
film,
do.
you're just like, whoa,
Yeah,
didn't see that one
but
coming.
and the only reason I say that is because he does. He continually improves and he wants to improve. And I've seen interviews where he would talk about this. He's like, I want to get better at this. I want to continue to go to the next level with my craft. And so I really appreciate that. So I don't think that he's at the top of his game just yet. And that means that he's going to go even further, that he's going to have some phenomenal performances, hopefully,
Right.
in the future. But you're right, he does dissolve into this character and he becomes Leonard Bernstein. And like for me, it's so hard to judge between him and Cillian Murphy, but it is a toss up at this point. I can see exactly what, he's doing in this movie, but at the same time it's just like I feel like Cillian Murphy had the tougher job at presenting Robert Oppenheimer in that movie compared to Leonard Bernstein, even though they're both incredible performances. How do you judge the two? How do you come to that decision at the end of the day? This is probably the hardest category, I think. No, it is the hardest category. I'll revise that. For me, to say which one's going to come out on top, I'm still leaning towards Cillian Murphy, but it is close. I could definitely see Bradley Cooper bringing home the Academy Award for Best Actor in this.
So I got to admit something here, and it goes towards his performance. But I actually broke down a little bit. I'll admit it here live that whenever he has the second scene with his daughter on the phone, we've already got the great scene where, I mean, it's not great circumstances, but he lies to her and says it's people being jealous. That's why there's all this rumor going around. But when he's on the phone with his daughter and she is like basically trying to get off the phone with him and he's in a very low spot and he just keeps saying, I love you. And she's like, I know, Dad. I know. I just like both of those actors brought it home so well. I did. I teared up a little bit. I was like, I can't imagine having that conversation with my daughters or my son. And it would be so incredibly difficult. I read about that moment in that they don't know necessarily, since these are very private conversations, if his wife asked him to lie to his daughter when Jamie, his daughter, came and asked him about the rumors about his sexuality. And he did lie. He did in fact say those things to Jamie around that time in her life, and she's written a book about the experiences. And she says, I can't see my dad doing that on his own. He strived for honesty and integrity. And
Right.
so the fact that, later on, of course, he copped everything.
Hmm.
And she thinks that it was probably initiated by her mother. And so
Yeah.
that's where that moment came from. And then they had to, sort of bring it back around. And the phone call scene, I don't know if it's an authentic one lifted from history, but many conversations like that occurred between Leonard
Yeah.
and Jamie. And so it just killed me. It just like I just felt absolutely crushed in that moment. So
Yeah, so you did feel the love between them and everything, and I don't know if we said it or not, but that his daughter was played by Maya Hawke, which is lovely.
she did a great job.
Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter, right there. She also plays in
Yep.
Stranger Things, does a phenomenal job in that too. But yeah, great performance. But yeah, you really do. You felt a lot of heart when it came to those scenes and everything. And I think it probably hits you and I a lot more because we both have daughters and we have that sort of a
Yeah.
relationship where, we want to be close and connected and honest with our children. And
Right.
I agree. When it comes to Leonard Bernstein, even in the movie, like he's very open, a lot of the time in the movie. Like, you remember when he's seeing his friend, he's like, and he sees their baby and he's like, I slept with both your parents and everything right out in the
Yeah.
open, and he kisses them. And
So I read about that too.
yeah.
That is lifted straight from history, but not just when she was a baby. That used to be an
Hmm.
ongoing joke that
Jeez.
he would tell her throughout
Yeah,
her
I
life.
know. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's a little awkward, but yeah, he was
Yeah.
that kind of guy, like you said.
But it rings true because a lot of musicians out there, a lot of people like this are very eccentric and just different and think differently than a lot of us and are open like that and uninhibited when it comes to things that most normal people are not. And I speak with experience because, like, my father was a conductor and director and everything else, and he very much was an interesting person. So, you know,
Did I
and
was
it
going to
reminded me of
ask
him.
you, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Did
Hmm.
he talk about Leonard Bernstein at all, or
Not much, but
it
yeah,
was
there's a
kind of that
lot of
day
my
had
dad in there.
passed, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
we were around and old enough to understand about music and that kind of thing. But
true.
um, yeah, I was just wondering if that was ever brought up. But well, we cannot, of course, speak about Bradley Cooper's great portrayal as Leonard Bernstein without, of course, going to the next category, Best Actress for Carey Mulligan portraying
Hmm.
Felicia, Emma Stone for Poor Things, Lily Gladstone,
Hmm.
Killers of the Flower Moon, Annette Bening for Naiad, and Sandra Hüller, sorry, for Anatomy of a Fall, which we'll see next week.
Hmm.
Um, but no, I think not only was she charming as a young woman falling in love with Leonard,
Yeah,
the authenticity that she brings to the performance of somebody that is reaching their boiling point over the course of decades
yeah.
was a sight to behold. She does an
Oh,
amazing
yeah,
job delivering that kind of weight as each
yeah.
scene goes by. Just it's getting harder and harder for her, and then of course she gets cancer.
Hmm.
Like just to
Just the
throw
hell that she's got
right.
had to go through in this film.
Yeah. And so seeing part of that in my own life,
Hmm.
um, not only do, they make her look and sound the part of somebody that is going through breast cancer, but like it's hard for her to even receive visitation from her friends because she's going through such a demanding physical thing.
Yeah,
And Carrie Mulligan just does a great job portraying that.
she really does. And throughout the film, you just can't help but feel so sorry for her, and what
Yeah.
she's going through in this, and she truly loves Leonard. Like, she loves him to her
Mhm.
core, and the despair that you actually see in her eyes throughout the movie. There's like one scene in particular where, like, she went on a date with somebody, and other than Leonard, and
Yeah.
come to find out the guy she's on a date with is interested in another guy. And she's just like, I have
Knows
a
how to
certain
pick 'em.
type here. Yeah, I really do know how to pick them.
Yeah.
And just the scene after he conducts the orchestra and Leonard sees Felicia on the side, and he's like, "Why are you here?" And like she holds on to him, and is like, "There's no hate in your heart," and
Yeah.
everything. Just beautifully done, and
Mhm.
followed swiftly by the diagnosis for breast cancer right after that. And it's just like,
Yeah.
whew, so the level, the things that this character had to go through and how to portray that,
Mhm.
as Carrie Mulligan did, is phenomenal. She did such a good job.
Yeah.
Now, will she actually walk home with the award in this? It's hard to say. I still, I said it before, like for Killers of the Flower Moon, Lily Gladstone
Yeah.
brings that performance and is raw and just makes you feel something on a whole nother level. So at the end of the day,
Yeah.
for me, I still do think that Lily Gladstone is going to walk home
Right.
with this award as best actress.
Right. So we come to the last category. Of course, we're
Dun
talking
dun
about the
dun.
story that this movie tells. Nominated for Best Picture among the other nine, which
The
we've listed so many
Titans.
times. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, so overall, what did you think of the story, and how does it compare to the other pieces of art that we have seen so far?
Yeah. Well, it does rank up there. Like, and I keep reiterating this point. All of these movies are excellent and well worth your time to
Yeah.
watch. But to be blunt and honest, yeah, it's not. I don't think this is going home with the
No.
Best Picture award. I think that we just have too many incredible movies on
Mhm.
this list, and a lot of those are elevated a lot more in my mind. And
Yeah.
again, coming off of Oppenheimer, which we both rated as perfect, um, that's it's hard to beat that. It's hard to come across another movie just as special as that
Yeah.
hits all the categories. Not saying that this movie doesn't hit categories for people, but again, this movie was not my movie. This is definitely somebody else's movie who
Mhm.
really enjoys Leonard Bernstein and loves that story. I found it entertaining. I found it was worth watching, and I think that it's definitely worth a watch. Will
Yeah.
I go back to the movie? I probably, for me, yeah, I probably will at least a second time. But I'm not
Yeah.
going to continually go back to this movie. I'm not going to be like, oh man, it's like I have a craving to watch Maestro today. Like
Yeah.
there is a definite craving in my mind for Oppenheimer. It's like
Mhm.
there is, and that's a movie that I will be watching again and again, and I'll get little pieces out of, and I'll enjoy it very much.
Yeah.
This film, I don't find myself doing that as much. I found it interesting. I found the characters engaging. I found all the good things out there. Like there's
Mhm.
there's so many positives to this movie. The performances were amazing. I love the cinematography, but at the end of the day, it just falls a little bit short of what we've gotten so far as we've watched these Academy Award nominees for Best Picture.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I enjoyed the story of the mill. I don't think that it's Best Picture, but I also feel like we've seen this movie before, right? A couple years ago, we
true.
had Rocket
Yeah.
Man come out. It's about an authentic
Yeah.
historical musician that's dealing with his homosexuality, has a wife,
Hmm.
dealing with his love for her, and dealing with alcoholism and substance abuse,
Yep.
And then after that, we have Bohemian Rhapsody.
Same
All of
thing.
those
Yeah.
things can be said again.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
personally found both of those other two films more interesting than this one.
Hmm.
I loved the acting in this one.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that those other movies also threw in um, stuff about the music, which I didn't think there was enough of in this film. So,
True. I think
eh,
it lacked in that area.
yeah, yeah. So I like you said, I probably won't be watching this movie again. I found the main relationship charming, but it just didn't hold a story for me. There wasn't a whole lot of actual story happening,
Yeah.
other than a couple gets together, they fight, and then one of them unfortunately dies.
Yeah.
And I just felt like those beats are kind of cliche in these types of
Mhm.
movies now, and we could have seen a little bit more to make it unique and make it feel like its own. And
Yeah.
it did make me want to go back and rewatch A Star Is Born, which I did, and I liked it even better. So I would say, if you feel at all like you're curious about that movie, do yourself a
Yeah.
favor. I've said it already, but I'll emphasize it again. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, but
And speaking of the unique, I'm, just watching these movies in a row. I'm starting to think it's like why do we keep playing off of the black and white and then going into color and everything? It's like
yeah,
every single best picture has to do this. It's like it
hmm
sort of loses its magic after a while. And I know like for I know why they did it for Oppenheimer. I know why they did it for Poor Things, and they did it beautifully for those two things, and they had separate reasons. For
yeah,
this one, it was a little bit less of a reason and more of an artistic choice. And
yeah,
like we said earlier, I would have appreciated it all the more if it was just black and white throughout the entire
yeah.
film.
I don't know why they switched. It wasn't necessary to
I
switch,
think it was just
but
like, and I think I'm grasping at straws here, but I think that the reason they switch is like they kind of, how they did it in WandaVision, how they would change the medium
right with
up
the
as it
era.
progressed. Yeah, I think that this is the same thing. Like throughout the era, like you get to the 70s and you have that granular, colorized,
Yeah.
technicolor view at that point in time, and then it gets
hmm
more realistic as we go along in the story coming up to modern day. So I think that that's why they were doing it, but it really doesn't play to the story or what we're actually watching.
Yeah.
So it doesn't relate as much. It's too separated for me when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's really such an intimate look at him and his wife's family, and or him and
Yeah.
his wife's relationship, and with his family, that
Hmm.
there isn't a whole lot of period nostalgia going on. You don't
Yeah.
you very rarely get sort of a wide shot of any kind of period locations. So yeah, I don't, again, like you said, I believe that's probably why the choice was made to switch film stocks and colorize as they went on. But
Yeah.
if it was meant to portray like a amount of time passing by, it just didn't work for me. And I don't think people should be afraid to show, the 70s, the 80s in black and white. It's perfectly fine medium, you know.
It is. We
So
have modern movies that are shot in black and white,
right,
and it's not a period thing. It's just a
yeah,
choice for
right,
the format that we have. So, yeah. All
yeah,
right. Well, do we want to go into our ratings?
sure thing.
All
Yeah,
right.
scale of 1 to 10. What do you think?
1 to 10. So for me, let's see here. It's so difficult.
Yeah,
Um, and this is my rating, guys. This isn't, so take it as you will. But for me, I do think that this is worth a watch and everything. I
hmm
don't think that it's something that I'm going to continually go back for. So for me, I'm going to have to give it a. Don't hate me, guys. I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Oh,
Like,
good.
now we're thinking of the same number.
Yeah.
We didn't
All
need to
right.
turn back to back.
I know.
Yeah.
No.
And we needed to narrow it down. That 1 to 10, we could probably get that. No,
I And that's what I was
I
going to
agree
say.
with
If you
you.
said 1 to 10, I was going to say 6 for
Yeah.
that beginning segment. So,
Yeah, and it's weird because I believe I gave Poor Things a 7.
mm-hmm.
And I definitely didn't enjoy that movie as much as I did this one. But like I said, there just wasn't enough new here
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't feel like it told a whole story or much of an interesting one that we haven't seen iterations of before, that I didn't think that it really rose to the level of best picture. Sorry, just
Yeah.
knocked my cup over. Yeah, nice little
Nice.
cleanup job for me after the show. But yeah, 6 out of 10 for me for pretty much what you were saying, and all the stuff that I just said too. Why I felt the need to say even that, I don't know. Other than it's getting late.
Yeah. It is. It is. But yeah. So there you have it. That's our. Do we have anything else that we want to say before we close the
Nope.
discussion.
Coming up on Monday, Anatomy of a Fall. I'm really looking forward to this one, kind of stepping out of the historic biopic
Oh, yeah.
finally,
Please. Yeah.
and giving us, a crime thriller.
Yeah. I'm
So to
really
speak.
looking forward to Anatomy of the Fall. I'm excited to watch that. So that's up on the docket for us coming here on Monday morning. We'll be watching that. And then after that, I think we're going to try to hit up the holdovers, right? So
Yeah, for next Friday.
yeah, can't wait for that. So
Paul Giamatti, let's see if he's going to take it home.
I know.
Finally
It's
get to see the other side of the contenders list for Best Actor.
right,
So,
and that one really could be a contender. Paul Giamatti is amazing in my book. He's done such a good job in all
Yeah.
the roles that he's done. So, man,
right. Lots
Can't
of
wait to
cool
see it.
stuff coming up. So, yeah. If you haven't hit it yet, I don't know why you're listening to us this long without hitting the subscribe button. So please do so. And check us out on all our feeds there. You can see wrapped around the screen.
all over there. And I'd like to thank Attack on Show. He showed up today. He said, I have to be honest, I haven't even heard of this movie. You know, if I wasn't covering the best pictures, I probably wouldn't have heard of it either. So it wasn't on my radar.
He not know about it? He gives a review of Velocipaster, but doesn't know the movie Maestro.
Hey, everybody knows about Velocipaster. So,
That's true.
but
Yeah.
Attack
Crime
on
won't
Show.
Stop.
Hey, and if you guys didn't know, I'm wearing some
Oh,
of
yes,
Attack on Show's
there you
merch
go.
today.
Absolutely.
Feels like he needs to check it out. I'm glad that we got you got a
Yeah.
suggestion for you on this. So
Yeah.
give it a whirl. So
Yep.
So
Let
thanks
us
for
know what
joining
you
us,
think.
Attack on Show. Yeah, you can catch us on all the different platforms: Twitch, X, Twitter, X Twitter,
Facebook.
TikTok, and basically like TikTok. We've just been putting our short little amphitheater reviews on there, so you can check those out on the TikTok channel for that. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, of
Yeah.
course. And so yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for joining us. And if you're catching this later on our YouTube channel, so hope you enjoyed the broadcast here. Go let us know what you think of Maestro too. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought about it. Where you stack this with the other best picture contenders.
Yeah, what's
too.
your pick
Yeah.
out of the ones we've talked about so far? Or maybe you think we haven't
Right.
seen it yet.
I'd love to know.
Which one of these is best picture?
Mhm, exactly. So I'd love that. Love to see it. All right, guys. So that's it for us here. Happy Friday to all you guys out there. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you Monday. All right?
From our families to yours. Have a good
All
one.
right. Peace. So thanks for joining me today on Fatherly Phantom, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And from our families to yours, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.